stocking too many cars for my current April, May market, which is a slower market. So I would be looking at, and that's why we adjusted our software, our stocking tool, to just looking at a 2-week sale rates. And that way we can catch it quicker. If you start build, and it can go opposite too. If volume's building up over the last week or two, well, let's stock to that volume. But if volume's building up and I look 45 days ago and we were slower, because that's what happens with a lot of our stores. As we start helping the stores, their volume really starts picking up and they scrambled to keep up with it. And I think, again, if you're looking at a 30 to 45 day stocking strategy, going saying, hey, you had this many, you've sold this many in 45 days, because you're looking so far back, that increase in volume might not hit those numbers yet. So, it might only be telling you to stock 5 of these particular cars. In reality, you need 7 or 8 based off your last 2-week sale rate. But again, looking over 45 days, you don't see that impact yet. And it can go opposite too when things start slowing down. And then like a lot of stores right now, I'm seeing people post that they haven't seen one customer in 2 days and stuff like that. Who knows how long this little window is going to be affected. But if you looked at if that's the case and things are slowing down the last couple of days, but you look at your stocking tool that's looking at a 45-day supply, it might be telling you to go buy a bunch of cars. Reality, you don't need them right now if it is that slow in your market. So some guys are doing great. I'm not fear mongering here. I'm just saying the reality of what we're seeing out there. But understand, regardless of this current situation with the virus and the stock market, or if you're booming, it's a booming market or a slowdown market, either way, I'd be looking at a 2-week window. And another reason why, and again, this is kind of a duplicate video that I did the other day, but I got hit up so much about it yesterday, was another reason why I look at a 2-week window is by the time you buy a car, transport it, service it, get it online, it takes 7 to 14 days. So if you look at a 14-day sales cycle, you'll be buying at current rate. Meaning, if I gave you either a 30 or 45-day buy rate, meaning you have 10 in stock, over the last 30 days, you sold 15, so you need 5. Well, we really only need 5 in a 30-day window. So you might get 1 or 2 this week and 3 or 4 next week. And you don't need all 5 right now. You need them over that 30 days. And so that kind of throws you off, like, how many do I need to get this week? But if you look at a 2-week sale cycle, basically what's showing there is pretty much what you're going to need to be buying that week, if majority of those are going to be coming from purchase cars. Now, if you half your inventory is on trades, obviously that can be affected. That's another formula we're actually working on too, to see what percentage of those needs can come from trades. But and that way you get a true number of what you need to be going and buying. Because the other thing I could tell you, a lot of people hit me up about, is how high auction is and how hard it is to find cars. Had a guy email me or Facebook message me talking about how high Atlanta was and he wasn't able to buy anything. But point is, if that's the only place you're going, because he's a small independent, you're going to have very limited resources to fund cars. Now, it used to be the math, and vAuto Cox might tell you different now, but it used to be I believe was a 7%. If you looked at what percentage of simulcast bids end up with a car, it was at a 7%. And that's proxy bids were at 7%, and simulcast was at 12%. So if you're going to be, right now, you need to be spreading your wings, looking at multiple auctions. If these auctions are high, you got to be looking at a ton of different auctions. Consider transportation. Don't just say, well, shit, to transport that car all the way from here to here, it cost me an arm and a leg. Well, 1, yeah, you may know that number, but 2, you don't know what you can end up buying there. So look at all these markets and where you can buy cars, figure in transportation costs, and you still might be able to buy something living in Kansas, all the way to California and bringing it in. Or even, I heard of guys in California buying from North Carolina and shipping them to California. And the people are going, how the hell are they going to be able to afford that? Well, you don't know what that market in California is doing. They might be able to afford that transportation. So look at all the markets. And, again, at that time, I think it was proxy bid was a 7% close rate. So if you needed 10 cars, you need to be doing well over 100, about 120, 130 proxy bids out there. So I was telling him, you almost have to double that number. If you need 10 cars, you might have to do 150 to 200 proxy bids just to get those 10 cars. So going back to 2-week sales cycles, you need to know exactly how many you need to be buying this week, so you know how many proxy bids, and track that yourself, because you might be way lower because you're not putting enough. You're trying to control that cost to market too much and trying to make $2 or $3 grand of markup and profit in these cars as you throw out these proxy bids, and you're only going to do a proxy bid if you can buy a car stupid or something, so you can have a 2 or 3% or 1% closing percentage, but track that proxy bid closing percentage. Go do 100 and see how many you end up with. But also look at your cost to market and what you're bidding them at. Because if your average cost to market was 75 and you did 100 and you end up with none, don't be complaining. You might have to go to 80 and 85 and 87 to get to a 7 or 10% closing percentage. So know how many you need to be buying this week, which then know your proxy bids or your simulcast closing percentage, and know what your cost to market was. And you're going to have to make adjustments and then spread your wings to these auctions to get these cars. But don't be overstocking. I mean, even if you're having a strong March and everything's going good in your market, keep it going. But don't assume that's going to continue to happen a month from now. If things start slowing down in your 2, 3, 4 weeks from now, if you're looking at a 45-day buying cycle because your tool is looking at 45-day sale rates, you might be overstocking, and in May you're holding the bag with a bunch of cars that you overpaid for when the market was strong. So keep that in mind. 2-week sale rates. If you like a demo, our stocking tool, we're providing stuff that you might not get out of your inventory management tool. It's not to compete with those. It's to combine that data. So we're giving you year, make, model, trim information of what's moving on your lot at what cost to market, what price to market, how fast that they move. So you know where to be buying them at. If you know what price they're leaving it down to year, make, model, and trim. We show you your franchise cars and say, here's your franchise cars that do well. Here's your non-franchise cars that do well. Here's your CPOs that do well, down to the model if you're a big CPO store. So year, make, model, and trim on CPO cars. Even OEMs don't provide that for you. So what years you need, what segments you need. And then again, we do proactive stocking, meaning, if you have 10 sold 15, you need 5. But we also look at those 10 that are in your inventory, and if they're aging and they're priced aggressive and they're converting, we predict 3 of those 10 might be leaving. So a system might say, hey, if you have 10 in stock, you sold 15, you need to get 5. But if we see 3 of those 10 that are in stock about ready to leave, you really probably need to go after 8 and be proactive. So we give that. It's like $295. You don't have to be a client. It can go for anybody that has vAuto, Max Digital. Shoot me an email or text, see if you want a demo on that. 314-568-2754, jricelotpop.com. Go to lotpop.com.